In this video, we will create a Docker image of a NestJS application and publish that image to Dockerhub using GitHub Actions. First, we need a NestJS application. I have already created one, so let's start by creating the Docker file. I am going to use Alpine image of Node.js 21 to keep the size of our Docker image small. Next, I will switch the working directory to app. Now, I will copy all files that match this pattern. We are doing it this way so package.json and packagelock.json both get copied in a single command. Next, I will run npm install to install all the packages. Now, I will copy everything from the source code to the current working directory. After this, I will run command to create a build of our NestJS application. We also need to expose the port on which our NestJS application runs by writing the expose instruction in our Docker file. Finally, I will specify the command that Docker will use to start our NestJS application. Our Docker file is ready. Now, we need to create a Docker ignore file to specify which files to ignore during the copy process. I will add files and folders like node_modules to the Docker ignore file since they are not required to be in the Docker image during the build process. Now, let's try creating a Docker image. As you can see, our Docker image has been built successfully. Now, let's write a GitHub Actions workflow file to build our Docker image using GitHub Actions. Let's begin by assigning a name to this GitHub Actions workflow. Now, let's define the event that will trigger this GitHub Actions workflow. In this case, I want this GitHub Actions workflow to trigger upon a push to the master branch, so I'll specify that. Let's define a job called build and push that will run on GitHub hosted runners with ubuntu-latest. A job contains steps, which are essentially tasks that need to be done by the job. Our first step is to check out our repository's code on the runner where our workflow is executing. It fetches the latest changes from the repository and creates a working directory with the repository's code. Our second step is to log into our Docker container registry. In this case, it is Dockerhub. We will get our username and password from repository secrets. I will talk more about this later on in this video. Our next step is to add secret files into the fetched code. In this step, you have the option to include private files in the source code that we have fetched. These could be files such as the .env file, certificates, or any other confidential information that you wouldn't usually add to the repository. For the sake of simplicity, I will just be adding the .env file. Do note that the content of the .env file is also sourced from repository secrets, just like Dockerhub username and password. The only difference is that we are decoding it before adding it to the .env file because it is base 64 encoded. Our next step is to build the Docker image. In this step, we will build the Docker image on the runner and tag it. After this, the next step is to push the built image to Dockerhub. And finally, we will update the metadata of the Docker image that we just pushed. Our GitHub Actions workflow file is ready. Now, let's add repository secrets in GitHub so our workflow can use them to log into Dockerhub and push our Docker image. Open your GitHub repository, navigate to the Settings tab, find Secrets and Variables on the left-hand side and click on Actions. Click on New Repository Secret to add a new secret. This way, add all 3 secrets needed in our GitHub Actions workflow file. After adding all 3 secrets, we are ready to commit and push our code. As you can see, our GitHub Actions workflow has been triggered, and the job is running. Our GitHub Actions workflow completed successfully, and the Docker image has been pushed to Dockerhub. Let's go to Dockerhub. As you can see, our Docker image is now available on Dockerhub. That's it for the video. Thank you for watching. Hope to see you in the next one.